Thanks, guys. It's great to see everybody again. I think it's been 3 days. So, basically, we start our 8th summer camp, and goals sort of remain the same as summer camp from my perspective. You want to come out of it healthy. You want to see what people retain from a functional standpoint in terms of what they've retained technique-wise, the foundation of our concepts, things of that nature. And then you want to find out position changes, what our new guys like, their feet on the ground. We've had 3 practices. 2 of them have been in shorts, so very difficult to assess. The shorts practices, today's pads, we just finished it, so I'll take some questions. Probably the best way to do it.
Mark? I think last summer, defensively, you guys were able to accelerate things with all the experienced guys back, if I remember correctly. Are you still able to be ahead of like a normal year with the experience you have back, or is it much different this year in terms of putting the whole thing together?
No, I think we're still ahead defensively from that standpoint. Our guys that have been here, they've gone through spring practice. The majority of our players are not redshirt freshmen in that group. They're guys with experience. Maybe they haven't started every single game, but they have. They've been in the rotation. So that's been a positive thing. The things that we install really are on the same timeline that we have always done it. And we put a lot in on a daily basis. So we're into our third practice. Probably 80% of what we do defensively will be in by the end of 7 days. So, we're going to continue to just move forward. There's a lot of retention by our older players, as you would imagine, and I think it's a good situation. We have a lot of guys who have played for us, so it's business as usual right now.
Coach, I'm just wondering, last season you got off to a slow start offensively and then started to pick it up. So I'm wondering, what are your keys to a faster start on offense this season?
Well, I think that, from an experience standpoint, I think that's the main thing. We have much more experience. We've got a quarterback who's settled into the situation. He's not trying to win the job. He's got the job. He's had success. We've got wide receivers who've had success as well. Our offensive line, although we lost 3 very good players, has sort of been retooled. We've got players back. We've got 5 starters back, basically, that I would say. Tight end situation is much more identified, and same thing, experience, and then our running back situation really has not changed. We didn't really graduate anybody, so that's all the same. So from that standpoint, we have much more experience back. We're not trying to find ourselves, we're trying to find things, and where's our retention, same thing. Techniques, you still got to beat people. There's still things that you have to be able to do, but we're much farther along. So hopefully that transitions into points and better play on the offensive field.
Mark, with Shalik, could you talk about the progress he's made as a player over the course of his career here, and then talk about maybe where you've seen him make progress as a leader between last season and now?
Shalik Calhoun has been a guy that from day one when he's come in here, he practices extremely hard. And he was very similar to Demetrius Cooper as a freshman. A little thinner, very active, high energy, those type of things. And he's just grown every year. As a redshirt freshman, he played a little bit. And then last year he had a sort of a breakout year where he was the starter. A lot of big plays. He has that big play knack or ability. A little bit like, as I remember, Julian Peterson had when he played here. Julian was always a guy that would get loose on a sack. He was always the guy to make a hit, cause a fumble or scoop a fumble or pick off the pass. And that's what you've seen Shalik do. Big play guy, consistency, has been consistent. And I think the next step in his transformation is really, or his evolvement is really, the total dominance of that CD guy. Because remember now, he's only been playing 1 year as a starter. So you would think that he would take a step forward in that area as well.
And then leadership-wise?
He's done a great job from a leadership standpoint. I think his personality, you guys see his personality when he has meetings and such. He likes to, he likes to have a good time, and he keeps things fun for our players. And you know, he's always sort of up. I don't really ever see Shalik down in the dumps. And I think that's something you got to work at every day as a person.
Coach Anthony Sabella from WILX. I spoke with Mark Hollis earlier today, and he was saying that season tickets were selling out faster than they ever have been. So can you just talk a little bit about the fan excitement surrounding this season, your expectations with that, and also with how this has impacted football recruiting for you?
Well, you know, we got into the Rose Bowl last year and won it, and won the Big Ten championship. So that's the first time that we can sit here the summer after that to say those type of things. We got a great home schedule coming into the stadium. It's a great stadium and environment to play in, and I think that Spartan fans are very excited right now. We got to keep climbing. We have to, as I said earlier, a week ago, you know, not get ahead of ourselves, not be entitled. Got to continue to work hard, but I think there's a genuine excitement around. There always has been here at Michigan State, but you know, with everything that's going on, I think it's increased. From a recruiting standpoint, you know, things continue to move forward, whether it's how we operate, or whether it's our facilities, or whether it's this university, or whether it's the success that we've had, or you know, the opportunities that lay for our new people coming in. We're having a lot of success right now. I think we're gathering a lot of momentum and in the recruiting process. So it's good, and I think we've got good players coming and good people.
Mark, you talked about coming off last season, you still want, obviously, a hungry team, plays with an edge, no entitlement. How do you exceed last season, though? You won everything that you could, the Big Ten, the Rose Bowl. Is it as simple as a national title? How do you tell your team you can exceed last season?
You know, I think the bottom line is, for a football team, because, you know, the ball's going to bounce certain ways. Do you play hard? Are you resilient? Do you prepare? Do you do everything that you can do to be successful? Do you carry yourself on and off the field correctly? All these different things. Now, naturally, the general public basically evaluates you, I think, as, hey, do you win or do you lose? And we won a lot of games last year. But there's always something that you can do to do a little bit better. And that's what I challenge our players to do. Just because you don't win a football game does not mean that you don't have success as a person. Everybody's got to try a little harder, work a little harder, sit their heights a little harder. We proved that we could get there. We proved that we could win on a big stage. So, as I talked to our players the other night, you know, that thing's been established. That aspect of this program has been established. What can we do now to go beyond that? And that doesn't just mean winning football games, but how do you carry yourself beyond that as a person here? And like I said, the team is made up of a bunch of individuals, so we just have to all continue to work hard, and everybody's at a different stage here. Some guys are coming in for their first 3 practices. Other guys are finishing their last 3 practices of their senior season, the first 3 being their last. So everybody's a little bit different, but I think there's a genuine enthusiasm. There's still very good chemistry. Our seniors have to lead. And I think our guys are energized right now, but you know, that can turn south very quickly. So that's why I go back and say we've got to be resilient. We've got to bring our A game to every game. We've got to prepare for every game and not get ahead of ourselves. So right now, it's not fall camp.
Mark, last week there was some talk about the chip on our shoulder, that kind of stuff. With the defense and so many people talking about how many starters you got to replace, so many 6 or whatever, do you see a difference from those guys coming back of maybe how they're approaching it to, I don't know, to kind of prove to people that it's more like reloading and they don't necessarily have to take a step back?
Yeah, I think our players have a lot of confidence on the defensive side of the ball. They've had great success. We've got a lot of players back with game experience, and people are waiting their turn to make a statement. So whoever that is, and there's a lot of different people that you can bring up in that regard, but there's a foundation of who we are that remains from within our players. There's a foundation there, and again, there's a lot of positive energy comes from our coaches and our teaching progression and things we've been able to accomplish on the defensive side of the ball, and you know, those things just springboard you into the next, I think, the next phase. And this is 2014 now, so again, we have to develop our reputation again, and but I think there's confidence there. And as I said earlier, you know, it's not like we're slowing things down. You know, we're taking things that we need to work on and working on those things. We're accelerating our pace terms of installation and those type of things.
At Big Ten Media Days, the Big Ten Network asked the 42 players there to, if they could pick any coach in the Big Ten to play for, who would they pick? You won that poll. I know you don't like to talk about yourself, but what is that, how does that reflect on your players and your coaches for how they're representing the conference that the players would pick you?
You know, it's humbling, I guess, when I saw that, but, you know, they don't play for me. So, you know, I'm more concerned about what our players here think of me, and will they continue to play for me? I guess that's how I'd answer it, but yeah, I appreciate what they've said. That was very kind of them, and but it really, in the big scheme of things, they don't really know me so too well. Some of them may, but you know, I'm more concerned about our players.
Mark, you've had a number of receivers last year step up and prove themselves. There are a couple guys, Aaron Burbridge, Dantonio Arnett. Burbridge especially took a step back kind of last year from where he might have shown as a freshman. What are you seeing from him and from Arnett early, and what do they have to do? What do you expect from them this year?
You know, Aaron tweaked, I can't remember what he tweaked last year, might have been a calf or something of that nature, and that set him back a little bit. You know, DeAnthony had a little foot as well as he moved into things. So injury set them back, and then other people accelerated their progress. But from what I've seen so far, you know, but again, like I said, you know, we're so early. We've got a lot of receivers who can catch the ball. I really think that we have 6 guys, 6, maybe 7 guys that are equally as functional. They're big play guys, and you know, you can throw the ball to any of them. And I think we saw that last year with a variety of guys. I think some people have stepped moved their game forward because they have a bigger curve. R.J. Shelton was a tailback when he was a freshman. Now he's a full-fledged wide receiver, so there's a bigger curve, and so he's developed more fully. But I'm excited about our wideouts. Very excited about our wideouts, and you know, we're losing some of those guys. We have 2 seniors and 4 or 5 juniors that will be seniors next year. So that's an experienced group. There's a lot of experience there now. If you go back to 2012, not much experience, but now you're going into 3 years with a lot of experience. Very similar probably to 2011 season when Keyshawn and Keith and VJ were all back for their later in their careers.
Mark, as you reflect back now to your first year, which is 8 years ago now, hard as it is to believe,
Yeah.
how has the heebie-jeebie factor changed for you in the early days of camp from excitement, lack of a better term?
I like that term. What do you mean?
From the first year when you were probably all excited to have a new team to now when you get out here 3 practices in and the excitement level, is it different or is it just more routine now?
You know, again, when you get ready for practice, I look to see what have we done the last 7 years, because there's always going to be a little bit of a blueprint to how we practice and what we've done. So I'm constantly trying to make it better. I'm constantly trying to say, okay, how can we make this drill better, or where can we put that drill? And sometimes, you know, even after today's practice, you decide, well, we got to move this over here and that over there and that type of thing. So you, I think, constantly trying to improve. As far as my first year, you know, I really can't remember it. I mean, things sort of go pretty quickly, but I do remember our first year. That camp was a great camp, 2007. We had a great camp. Our guys were totally into it. There was great enthusiasm. They were very focused. And we came out, if you remember, we came out 4-0. I think we had 1 penalty in the first game against maybe UAB or something like that, maybe 3, but not many. And you know, we were a pretty focused football team. Lost some later games very close, but I was very appreciative of the effort and everything that went with 2007. Now you're here in 2014. You know, we've been here. You know your players a little bit better because there's a history with them. You have to make sure that you know, you don't let that take you into a comfort zone, because you know your players and you've seen them play. That now you're backing off the accelerator a little bit. I think you have to continue to press forward and push people, you know, to be at their very best, and you have to present challenges to everybody. So we have to be challenged, I have to be challenged, and our players that have been here have to be challenged, and certainly our new players are challenged.
Mark, you lose 3 key members of the offensive line that graduated, but you have a good group back. Talk a little bit about what that rotation did the last 2 years for the future, and now what now is really the present of the offensive line.
Well, no question, it paid dividends. Coach Dayton had a method in mind, you know, when he started doing that. We actually lost 3 members and Mike Dennis. So we lost 4 guys because Mike Dennis was the big guy that we put in there at tight end and was really just an offensive lineman. But, you know, the toughness aspect that Blake Treadwell brought, the experience that Dan France brought, the excitement that Bo Finoti brought, and the bigness, I guess, that Mike Dennis brought at tight end. You know, we miss all that. But with that being said, we have guys prepared to take care of those positions. We've got 5 starters that have played a lot of football for us and have all played in a role in the Rose Bowl, in the championship game. They were all there. A lot of them have started. I think everybody started in that group as well. And, you know, Cody Keeler's another guy that I think is going to be a great player that's on the fringe, and he'll play this year, much like some of those other guys did last year. Same with Benny McGowan. We've got a couple other younger players that are coming as well, so it should be exciting to watch.
Mark, you talked about challenging your players. What's been the biggest challenge that you've had to face since January 2nd?
Good question. You know, I guess, yeah, that's a big question. Big question, I'll get back to you. I would say probably handling the success, you know, because you know, once you're at the head of the program, it involves us all. So, you know, there's higher expectations. You have to manage those expectations. You have to keep things real for your players, but also continue to try and climb a ladder too.
Coach, you said after the banquet in April that you've had expectations before and that you've fallen short before, and you're constantly looking to improve. Can you share some of the ideas you brought in to ensure that the expectations aren't too overwhelming, or that you can measure up to them?
Well, I just think we try and do things, I think the way this program operates is we don't hit doubles and triples all the time. We hit a lot of singles. You know, so by that I mean that we always seem to try and take care of item A before we get to item B and C. We don't try and go too far ahead of ourselves. Spring practice was important. We concentrated on spring. You know, we came away from the Rose Bowl. We concentrated on recruiting. We had a great recruiting class. Winter conditioning was excellent. Came out of spring ball with what we call our bottom line program. You know, had great results. We're here in what we call first phase, and summer camp, take care of business. And that's what we try to do. We try to, if there's anything that we do, I want our players to have confidence, but at the same time, I think it's important that we stay grounded. We understand that there's a responsibility that goes with winning. There's a responsibility that just goes with being here. There's also a responsibility that goes with winning, how we carry ourselves, and how we handle ourselves, and then the expectations, and how we live up to those expectations. So, you know, you just got little things, little indicators, and you just try, hey, Shalik Calhoun comes out, and it's a shorts practice, he comes out in the first practice in his pants, he's got to go in and change. Just because he's the star doesn't mean he doesn't do that, okay? So Jeremy Langford's supposed to be in a drill, and he's sitting on the sideline, you address the issue. Just because he's a star doesn't mean he's not in a kickoff drill with all the freshmen. And that's what we do. I see a piece of paper laying on the ground, I pick the piece of paper up. I don't walk by it because I'm the head coach here. And that's just what we try and do.
Coach, Marcus Rush, going into his 4th year as a starter, he's always been kind of the unheralded guy in that line. How does he serve in that role? And you had many 4-year starters on the line at the time.
Yeah, Marcus did a senior talk last night. It was tremendous, motivating. Marcus Rush will be, as long as he remains, stays healthy and continues moving forward, you know, as he always has, he's going to have the most starts, I think, in Michigan State football history. So he's done an outstanding job for us. He's been a very, very good player. He's been an impact player for us on the edge. He's had a lot of big plays for us. And really what we see is what we recruited. A guy who makes a ton of big plays, very active with his hands, force the issue on the edge, and he should have a great senior year. And he's a staple on our defensive line. He's where it starts. It starts with those two guys on the outside.
Coach, I'm wondering if you could talk about building on the championship DNA that you got from winning the Big Ten championship game and obviously the Rose Bowl, and how you can use that as a springboard as a building block for the program.
Well, I think anytime you're able to accomplish your goals, which those were our goals, and they're always our goals, to win every football game and win a championship, and then if you can do those things, if you can get to the championship game, you can springboard into the championship, and you can springboard that game into something greater. And so that's our goals. And you know, when you climb the mountain, you look up. You find there's a little bit more to find, there's a little bit more to do. Now, can you climb back up that mountain to see that? That'll be the challenge. So again, that goes back to handling success. And again, we talk about things internally, but at the same time, you have to be resilient, you have to readjust your goals as you move forward, and you cannot put too many things in front of what's right in front of you. And that's, you better be excited about playing game one before you get to game two. You better be excited about our first scrimmage before you get to game one. And if not, you know, I don't think you can be as good as you can, because enthusiasm is so important, and focus. And that comes from, that's an intangible, so that's just a way of thinking.
Coach, Connor Coach showed us last year the importance of the number 2 quarterback. What's the competition been like for this year's number 2 quarterback position?
Right now, you know, again, we're just in our third practice, so and I haven't even watched the film from this morning, but both those guys are very good football players. They're strong-armed. They both bring a little bit different, something different to the game. But I think they're both Division I BCS quarterbacks. So it's exciting to have Damien here and Tyler, and we'll see who shakes out best at the end of fall camp. And you know, but they've got to get the scrimmages under their belt, and we've got to see how they perform under pressure. And so, Damian Terry's got a little bit of a setback. He's practicing, but we'll hold him back just a little bit. You know, so he'll get that last scrimmage in there, but we'll hold him back a little bit early.
Mark, a couple other coaches around the country said recently that there were recruits that they had stopped recruiting because of something they saw the player doing on social media. Just curious if you've ever shied away from a recruit for that reason, and sort of where do you draw the line between just silly things that kids do and something that might be more of a red flag?
You know, we're going to try to take good people. That's one of our formulas for success here. And we're going to do that to the very best of our ability. So obviously, if there's a red flag that comes up, then we'll have to deal with that red flag. But you know, that's the best answer I can give. I mean, they're young people. They're going to make some mistakes, but we're going to try and recruit good people. I think you win with people. You know, that's old school, but I do think that you know, there are too many things that are going to challenge our young players when they get here for them to come in here with a lot of red flags. So have a tough time succeeding.
With all the talk of returning guys on offense, very little's been talked about with Trayvon Pendleton. Everything you guys have asked of him, he has done it and excelled. Would you talk about him character-wise, and then would you like to see him maybe find a way to get more involved even this year?
You know, Trevin's from Fort Smith, Ohio. He came here as a non-scholarship player. I think he's been on scholarship for 2 years now. This would be his third, I believe, or 2.5. But big year last year. He's got great ability, catch the ball very well. He's had some big plays for us, huge plays for us. But the bottom line is he's not a tailback for us. So when you put him in the game, you know, you're a little bit in regular personnel. So we tend to be in a variety of personnels, and that limits his numbers of plays. But with that being said, he's considered a starter here. He's done an outstanding job, and you know, he makes plays for us on the edge, catching, blocking. You know, he's capable of running the football as well. So he's been a very solid performer.
Mark, you touched on how you've handled the success that you've had. How do you handle the expectations?
water and water in a cup. Go ahead.
But maybe what are some examples of how you dealt with the expectations and maybe helped your team deal with the expectations?
That's the same thing that we talked about over here, I think. You know, we just try and take one thing at a time, and whether it's, I think you hold your best players accountable. That's what you have to do. You hold your best players accountable to conform to what's always been there for us as a team. And that would be the biggest thing I can say. And, you know, be consistent. You know, don't treat a guy differently just because he's a great player. I mean, certainly there's certain things that, you know, you have to do sometimes, but I don't want to say that that doesn't happen. But as much as you can, you treat everybody the same. And, because that guy is somebody else's friend, he's getting away with things, and this guy's not. You know, I just think it sends a bad message. It sends a entitled message. If they're entitled, I think that's what begins to corrode a football team. Because it's everybody else that surrounds your players. You know, the momentum, the way they carry yourself, the chemistry that begins to become eroded before you lose football games.
The consistency that you're talking about keeps coming through. When you were coming up as a player or a coach, who struck that home with you?
Well, Coach Evans, Dale Evans, my college coach, my secondary coach. You know, Richard Bell was our defensive coordinator at the time, but you know, Coach Evans, because that was my guy, that's my position coach, and he was very consistent, and you know, he cared for you as a person, which is what we try and do here. It's got to go beyond the X's and O's, and that's what I've always tried to do here. I think again, you go back to, you know, why we're coaching. Yeah, it's a very exciting game and all that type of thing, and everybody's motivated a little bit differently, but you hope that you're trying to bring young people along to become self-sufficient adults, and you're impacting them as people. That's what you hope for. With all these different experiences that they have, I think that is still possible in this day and age.
Leadership has always been a big part of your success here. Is this the time of year where that really comes to the forefront, or is it back in the winter? And has anyone kind of surprised you maybe that has stepped up early in camp and been more of a leader?
Well, it's a constant thing for us, you know. I mean, every football team's got to have their leaders. We do a lot of different things here. I think in that process, as we get ready in fall camp, as we do things, team-oriented things, you know, either daily or every other day, and then, you know, throughout the entire year, they're performing. And you know, we vote just like everybody. We have a sort of a leadership council, but we do vote that leadership council probably 5 times a year, and we only pick 2 guys at once. So they have to pick 2 guys, so that it's not watered down. It's not a vote that's watered down. Well, let's pick this guy. I don't know who else to pick. So it's sort of, you know, like running for Congress, I guess, without being political. But if you don't get revoted, that's your problem. But you have to lead throughout the year, and I think that's been something that's been a positive for us. And you know, I try and empower our guys to be part of the process, and as best I can.
Mark, you talked about the impact of Michael Geiger last year and having that position kind of settle going forward.
Yeah, Mike Geiger did an outstanding job last year as a true freshman, 15 out of 16, and he was really had some huge kicks for us. If you look at the results of our football season, so this season he comes in as the guy. He's confident. He's stronger. He's got. I think he's increased his leg strength, but he's extremely accurate. And you know, his focus and his positive mental attitude before every kick is you know, reminds me of Paul Edinger, reminds me of Swenson, you know, those type of guys who've been 2 of the greatest kickers that have been here, my standpoint.
All right, you talked about, I think in Chicago, now being the hunted team, more or less.
One of the hunted.
Pardon?
One of the hunted.
One of the hunted, right. Do you think, quick 2-part question, do you think your team will handle having that target, and how might that change maybe how opponents play you or whatnot? And number 2, do you talk with your team about the national title?
Number 1 is something that we've talked about continually, handling success. It's something that I think comes with, you know, going to the Capital One Bowl in 2008. You need to try and build on those things. Something with, in 2007, going to a bowl game at that point in time. So you're always trying to, I think, build on the things you've been able to accomplish, and we're trying to do that. We've got to handle success. That's been one of the, I guess, main focuses or topics here. So I think I've answered that question.
Yep, what about the second one?
Second one, do we talk about the national championship? We're going to dream big. You know, what's been established is that we've been to the Rose Bowl, and we won the Rose Bowl, we won the Big Ten championship. That's been established. What could we do beyond that remains to be seen. And, you know, you always want to dream big. You always want to go farther than you did before. I think that's human nature. You know, when you've been able to, you know, run a 4-minute mile, they want to break that down. You know, when you're able to go to the moon, they want to go farther. That's just the you know, that's natural, I think, for people. So yeah, we've talked about it once, but again, I go back to keep things in check, concentrate on what you have to do, and then move forward. One thing at a time, because if we don't do things one game at a time, we have no chance, none, of getting back to where we have a springboard to go farther. What we can do is we can get to the end of the pool. Now, can we get on the diving board, I guess? Not a good analogy. Like I said, I talked to you guys 3 times in 1 week.
We'll end it with that then.
Okay, everybody good? Thanks so much. Go Green.